Let's understand nuclear fission and fusion processes. Before diving deep to understand these processes, let's understand some forces that act within nucleus. We all know that nucleus contains neutrons and protons. Protons are positively charged particles, neutrons are electrically neutral. Protons and protons being charged particles experience electrostatic repulsive force, that is a long range force. It means that when two protons are at certain distance, they will repel each other. However, the strong nuclear force is a short range force, which means that even when two charged particles are brought close enough that the strong nuclear force can act, then they will not repel but they will be together. And this strong nuclear force keeps the nucleus together. Alright, so imagine when two positive, overall charge of a nucleus is positive, whether it's any atom, nucleus is positively charged because of the protons, neutrons are neutral anyway. So when two nuclei are getting together, they repel each other because they are both positively charged. But if somehow we manage to bring them close enough that nuclear short range attractive force overpowers the electrostatic repulsive force, then nuclear reaction happens. Alright, so in sun or other stars, the temperature is so high and the speed of nuclei is so high that they overcome this long range repulsive force. They combine together, giving us enormous amount of energy. In the laboratory, it is easy to produce nuclear reactions at a shorter scale or at a small scale. Either with alpha particles, we all know that alpha particles are 4He2, they are heavy and they are positively charged. Alright, either with alpha particles or with protons or with neutrons, these particles are accelerated and bombarded on a bigger nuclei to see what kind of nuclear reaction happens. But so far in the laboratories, the only type of nuclear reaction that has been proved useful in order to produce some energy is when a neutron, that is a neutral particle, is bombarded on a bigger nucleus. Why is it so? Because neutron has no charge. Alright, so it cannot be repelled at a long range distance. So we just have to make sure that it is accelerated and it strikes the nucleus. If it was a proton, and a proton is coming to a bigger nucleus, then it will start repelling. We would have to create the temperature and the acceleration of the proton to overcome that electrostatic repulsive charge. But in the case of neutron, we don't have to do that. So when neutron is bombarded on a bigger nuclei, we don't have to worry about it being repelled. It will just either strike it with a high velocity, splitting it, or will get absorbed in it if it's a slow moving neutron. Now we will see these nuclear fission and nuclear fusion process in detail. Just to quickly show you what I was talking about, that if this is a nucleus of uranium-235, if I bombard it with a proton, that proton being a positively charged particle, it will repel. I will have to give proton a very high velocity, I will have to create a very high temperature so that it overcomes the repulsive force and go and start feeling the short range nuclear force. If this is an alpha particle, let's say this is an alpha particle is heavier, okay, and it is more positively charged, so it will need more velocity and more temperature and more certain conditions to overcome the repulsive force and to go and stick to it. However, if I have a neutron and this is a neutral particle, I do not have to worry about the repulsive charge. I just have to give it enough velocity so that it can either stick to it, form a new nuclei, which is unstable obviously, so that we can fission it and we can produce a nuclear reaction. Alright? Okay. In general, in nature, it is not very easy to make a nucleus break. We have to disturb it enough so that it splits. All right. So, and we have to disturb in such a way that the output energy that we get due to fission is of course more than the input energy which is used to make it fission, make it split. Otherwise it's useless. If we have to give, for example, 5 joules of energy in order to accelerate the particle, to bombard it on a nucleus, and then the output energy we are getting is 2 joules, then it's useless because we are giving more energy rather than what we are getting in the nuclear reaction. So let's say we have a neutron and this is a uranium-235 nuclei. What this uranium-235 does is that when a neutron approaches it, it absorbs it. And it becomes uranium-236 because this is the number of protons plus neutrons. So now it has one more neutron, so its number will become uranium-236. Now uranium-236 by nature is highly unstable. So what happens, like within 10 to the power minus 16 to 10 to the power minus 25 second, you can imagine what a short span of time it is. It splits, and it splits giving barium, krypton and 3 more neutrons. This is one way out of which uranium-236 can split. There are other ways, other products which can be formed during nuclear fission. Now, nuclides that are capable of undergoing nuclear fission by absorbing a neutron are called fissile. Okay, there are other fissionable nuclides which can split apart, but only the nuclides which can absorb a neutron and then split, those are called fissile. Alright, so these two, barium and krypton, which are being produced after U-236 is split, let's put that aside. These are called daughter nuclei. Okay, this is one example that krypton and barium is produced. There can be some other atoms that are being produced. I am taking this example. Okay, along with these two, 3 neutrons are produced. Okay, and great amount of energy is released. All right. What happens in nuclear fission reactions? There are 2 types. One is called controlled, one is called uncontrolled. Let's first have a look at what is uncontrolled fission reaction. In uncontrolled fission reaction, reactions are allowed to proceed without any moderation or anything. 3 neutrons are produced. These 3 will bombard on more uranium-235 and a chain reaction will occur in which more 3 neutrons will be produced. Out of these 3, you can imagine 3 more, 3 more, 3 more out of this when they are being bombarded at uranium-235. And so enormous amount of energy is suddenly produced, which leads to an explosion. This is the concept of atomic bomb. When I talk about controlled fission reaction, then some kind of moderation is used. If these are the products of from one nucleus of uranium-236 when it splits, then what the moderators will do, they will take away the 2 neutrons. So now only 1 neutron will carry forward the chain reaction. Out of these, when it will hit another U-235, 3 more neutrons will be produced, 2 will be absorbed by the moderators, and only 1 neutron will continue the chain reaction. This is the basic of nuclear reactor, where we produce nuclear energy which can be used for many purposes. Okay, so this is the basic difference between controlled and uncontrolled fission reaction. Now these are also called fission fragments, and these comprises the bulk of the high level waste produced by the nuclear reactors. So this is the waste products produced. The fission reaction is of 2 types, controlled and uncontrolled, and this is one way of barium and krypton that I have showed you. There are multiple ways in which a nucleus can split. Okay, I have also made barium a bit bigger than krypton because it has more number of nucleons, 142, and it has 91. All right. Now let's have a look at nuclear fusion. Fusion, fission, how to remember it? 2 particles coming together, they are fusing together, it's called fusion. Okay, a thing splitting up, it's called fission. Alright, so let's have a look at nuclear fission. Nuclear fission are very hard to recreate? First thing, simply because two positive nuclei, to bring them together, as we have discussed previously in the video, being positively charged, they will repel each other. We have to create extreme conditions so that two positively charged nuclei, they come close enough so that the strong nuclear force is dominating. Alright, in the sun and in the other stars, the temperature and density is extremely high, okay, which helps the nuclear fusion process to go over and over again and again. The temperature, high temperature, it makes sure that the particles have high enough acceleration and energy to collide, okay, and the high density, it makes sure that this occurs again and again, okay, it happens frequently, okay. So self-sustaining fusion reactions can occur only under conditions of extreme temperature and density. Amount of energy released per nucleon with fusion is greater than with fission. And of course, there is no radioactive waste produced. In fission, we have seen that fission fragments are created. Those are nothing but nuclear waste. But while two nuclears are fusing together, they are just giving us energy and no waste products. On Earth, in the laboratories, scientists are trying to recreate the fusion process, but it is very hard and it requires a lot of energy to just create the circumstances needed for fusion. Okay, now let's imagine you have two positive nucleus, and when you are trying to bring them together, that means that you are trying to shorten the distance between them. Then the energy required to do that is very high. Okay, you come to a point when you overpass the energy barrier and slowly the strong nuclear force start dominating. It is shown by this graph. Let's say we start with two nuclides together. Here we are trying to lesser the distance between them. We need high amount of energy to do that. Here electrostatic repulsive force dominate. As soon as you cross a certain energy barrier, then we need less and less energy to bring them closer. Why? Because short range nuclear force starts dominating.